So this was our main front door area, and we would walk in to the front door, and then this would have been our living room.
It's been nearly 9 months since a fire near Boulder, Colorado destroyed Courtney Wall's dream house and turned her life upside down.
I think with grief and with any kind of loss is the idea that oh, well, it's been 6 months, you should just be over it or get over it. And I think that that's actually when things start to get harder.
This is her first trip back here in several months.
We were so diligent about keeping it so manicured and so well maintained that it's just hard to see it in this condition.
Overgrown with weeds, with blackened trees as the backdrop.
You're concerned about somebody else going through this. What really drives you?
What drives me? Well, trying to.
Do you want to take a break?
The Walls lived at Forest Edge. Paula Fornwalt is a researcher with the USDA Forest Service, focusing on how people and natural disturbances are affecting the forests. A significant part of that is something called WUI, W-U-I.
The wildland-urban interface, or the WUI, is not a condition that's unique to Colorado by any means. It's just an area, there are just areas where people and forests intermingle at some scale.
And why not? Part of the reason people live in this region is the easy access to mountains, hiking in the summer, skiing in the winter.
It's beautiful to live there, but you also have to accept the risk that these places burn.
Yeah, there's definitely a risk, inherent risk in living in those communities, especially when you're living in systems like this, like Ponderosa Pine, where they historically burned at a decadal time scale.
Meaning once every 10 years. But could that cycle be changing for the worst? Roughly 200 kilometers from the city of Boulder, another group of forest researchers from the Rocky Mountain Research Station are hiking just across the Colorado border in Wyoming at around 3,400 meters, or 11,000 feet. A huge percentage of the trees here are dead and dying, victimized by a tiny beetle many scientists believe is migrating north as temperatures warm. Every Tuesday, forester John Korfmacher makes this trip to the Glacier Lakes Ecosystem Experimental Site. Researchers are gathering a database, examining the purity of the water, how quickly the winter snowpack melts, and over a 30-plus year period, they have chronicled a somewhat dramatic spike in the temperature at this altitude.
We've noticed an increase. An average year now is, an average summer I should say, is now about 1.7 degrees Celsius hotter than it was in the mid-1980s, which is, as temperature trends grow, is a very steep curve.
Back near the city of Boulder, Courtney Wall says she and her family did everything possible to mitigate devastating effects from forest fires by pruning trees and eliminating thick underbrush. But last summer, Colorado received only about 10% of its normal precipitation, and the state suffered its two largest wildfires in history.
I fully believe that climate change is 1,000% responsible for our fire. There's going to be a lot of people that don't believe in climate change for some reason, which for me is absolutely crazy. It's not listening to science. It's a fact that our climate is warming. It is a fact that more wildfires are going to happen, and they're going to happen across California, Oregon, Colorado, but then they're going to continue to happen everywhere.
With that in mind, Courtney and her husband have a difficult decision. And with wildfires raging across the U.S. West, it is something thousands of homeowners will wrestle with. Rebuild and run the risk of coming face to face with fires, or abandon what's always been a sanctuary for a safer environment. Sean Caleb, CGTN, near Boulder, Colorado.